Let's beef it up a little bit. Let's make it a little bit faster because it's more fun to play this way.
What song needed the most, if you pick one song, what song needed the most sugar because of the deep message?
Well, I don't remember that. I mean, it wasn't like, it wasn't a situation where we were saying, man, this shit is too heavy. We have to, put some fun shit on. We have to make this fun. We were just in it and we were having a good time. We said, let's beef it up a little bit. Let's make it a little bit faster because it's more fun to play this way. And it said, and saying these lyrics in a major key say something differently than doing it in a slow minor key thing. It was just an organic thing. I mean, some of the songs definitely took longer and evolved much more from the beginning to end than some of the other ones. There's a tune called Rabbit Will Run, which started as a acoustic 6/8 kind of southwestern thing, and it definitely ended up somewhere very different.
Can you say that it's harder to write more upbeat and uptempo?
No, it's harder to. I write songs. I treat them like poems, but there's definitely like a loose narrative thing going on. They're stories. Whether it's a complete story with a beginning, middle, and end, it's not always the case. But there's some narrative element to it, and it's hard to have a narrative without conflict. Conflict suggests like a minor key tune, so it's much easier to write stories in a minor key. But it's, major key songs are fun. They have just as strong of a, emotional tone as minor keys. It's just hard to write a story that has any depth because in a major key because the conflict is missing, or the conflict is deflated by the major key, delivery.
Is there one song that you say, well, that's an example of the story that you just told, that it took you some while to deliver the story, the change?
The Tree by the River tune, I started over a decade ago. It's a major key kind of thing, but it took me a long time. Yeah, it took me a long time because the first line, I had the first line in the melody and I liked it, so I kept that part and kept trying to do stuff. But it had a tendency, because it's such a nostalgic, such a nostalgic feel to the tune, that it kept feeling sappy or saccharine when you would expand on that idea. The Marianne, do you remember the tree by the river when we were 17? And then he would say, do you remember this and that? And it was really difficult to come up with things that didn't feel corny because they were only important to those two people. You had to come up with images that outsiders listening to this couple talk about their own memories could relate to. So it took me 10 years to come up with stuff like, I remember the thorns and the roses beneath your window. I could, as an outsider, I can understand or relate that to my own life. The good and the bad of my own memories, and understand. Even though I don't understand what happened under their window, I can sort of take something away from it. And there's a song called Godless Brother in Love, which is in a major key thing, but has a, it's a kind of a heavy message as well.
So what is that message?
Well, maybe message is the wrong word. I don't really write messages, but the theme or the feeling, the emotional tone is heavy. I don't have like statements in the tune. They don't really succeed or fail on whether I argue a point. I rarely have a point to make. But I do like to group or sequence, descriptions or images that together suggest some, have a connotation, or have an emotional tone, or they suggest some kind of meaning. I mean, you could say, if I just say something simple like a broken leg, a bird with a broken leg, that means something. It doesn't, it's not like a thesis on something, but you have an image and it has a good or a bad quality. that said, the godless brother in love is kind of the same way. It's a description of someone talking about someone else, and you could read it as a few different things. You could read it as a description or a criticism of present day politics or social standing, or it could be as simple as like taken for face value and said like a man is in love with a woman who has trouble being nice and has spoiled rotten kids.